We are live, my people. Y'all know y'all done messed up, right? Y'all know y'all done messed up, right? What's up? This is your boy BG the 27 Kid, and welcome to the New South Movement Presents Election 2016, the wrap-up show. We live. We're gonna bring y'all in to give you a taste of how we get down here at the New South Movement Podcast Network. I got my comrades here with me, rocking with me. I got the Shy Peacock, Simone. What's happening?
Hey, what's up, y'all?
And I got my boy JE, tight. What's happening, bro?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm just honored to be here, BG. I'm recording with the Shy Peacock. I'm a fan.
It is a blessing to be here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
do
think we
It's
everything I
all
definitely
can.
on election night, BG. It's
yeah.
election night. I think as a write-in, we all should have rolled in the Shy Peacock.
Well, we'll do that for what 2010, 2020. That'll be 2010. That'll be the plan, right? In the shop, Peacock should win too. Hit him with some of that black girl magic. We need some of that, ain't that right?
You know I got it. Just let me know.
So now y'all
Let
get
me know.
America, you get a chance to see how this goes down live. So what this is if you don't know or if you do know, this is the New South Movie Podcast Network. We are a family of podcasts, Southern influence, Southern fried, and what we try to do with each and every product that we put out is uplift and push the culture forward in a positive direction. We have a line of podcasts touching everybody, everything from sports with our D1 Sports Talk podcast to something for the women, what we like to say, the female savages out there, the fearless mystic led by the shy peacock. So we got something for everybody. And what we're trying to do today is just put our little spin on this whole election thing. It's been a up and down roller coaster ride. It's been full of drama and anxiety. Now we get a chance to let loose a little bit and bring y'all into our world. So we're gonna try to track it for the next hour or so, hitting you with the results as they come in and just kind of giving you some of our thoughts on how things have unfolded over the last year and a half, 2 years. So we're gonna kick this off, man. Today is the day this shit is finally over, my friend. We have made it to the finish line, and in this election, wake up in the morning. What when you woke up today? What was your feeling? We all participated in the process for various reasons. How were you feeling when you jumped out of bed, sun was shining, and it was time to go to the poll?
Well, I didn't rush to the poll. I went to work.
You took your time.
Exhausting. Just huh?
Go ahead.
I mean, it's just been an exhausting thing, and I knew that I was gonna go and vote, but I found myself quite irritated because you know how everybody's been talking about make sure you go and vote is what our ancestors died for and our ancestors fought for and all of that. So I was just over the guilt trip. Because this election has been such a mockery and it's been so in your face with rhetoric, and it's been a shit show. Like it's really just been a shit show. So when I woke up, the first thing that wasn't the first thing that I thought about, and then when I did think about it, I rolled my eyes and I got up and I went to work. But ultimately, I did vote. I voted this afternoon. But there was a lot of apathy. It was just
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it because in this case, my grandmother told me you better go do it. And I respect the elders. I respect that elder in particular. So I got up off my butt and went ahead and did it instead of waiting to the last minute. So
Tight, tight. What was on your mind? What you were thinking?
I ain't want to miss the bus.
That, that was
I
your
mean,
first. Your first.
I take public transportation, so I was trying to calculate. I was trying to calculate on how long it was going to take for me to cast my vote and make the early bus, so I'm not running behind. But in all due seriousness, I mean, I was, I mean, I struggled with who I was going to vote with and what I was going to do when I actually got my ballot. I've voted every year since I could vote. So for me, it was more or less um, what was I going to do when I actually got the ballot in my hand? Was I going to stick to my uh, to my authenticity and be true to myself? And could I perform a blank out vote, or was I gonna submit to either the Democratic nominee or the Republican nominee? So I kind of struggled and went back and forth internally, but I made it to the polls early in the morning, and it was a long line. It was something that typically would take me. I would be able to walk in and cast my vote. I kind of waited. I think we waited in line for 45 minutes. What about yourself?
What what would well, I mean, small town problems, we don't have that. So I was able to just walk right in, give my ID and all that, fill out the little quick ballot, although we did have 14 amendments down here.
I was
Which
going.
is,
Yeah, I saw that. Why was
yeah,
there 14 amendments?
that's a whole nother thing. And that's and actually there was an amendment on the thing to change the number of amendments that end up on the statewide ballot. But it was calm, there wasn't no KKK was out trying to suppress the vote or anything like that.
So I be
So
hoping. I be hoping that they be out there for
well,
real.
that's what I was telling people. Like we at this point now where you got folks out there that's looking for the conflict. So it was easy breezy, man. I went in there and got it done. But you could feel the tension. I think a lot of people were just anxious about this whole thing. And I can imagine that places where it was like crowded, packed, and these long lines. It's just trying to figure out who voting for what. And we looking at the racial breakdown, and you see these long lines of Caucasian people like, damn, everybody vote for Trump. We in trouble type thing. So it was it was all right though. But the question is how did we get to this point, right? How did we get to this point where for the highest, I guess, seat in America, we get to the point of picking the lesser of two evils? That's the thing you hear people saying all the time. I'm just gonna take the one that I feel like is gonna hurt us the worst. I think we started out. If I can pull this graphic up, we trying to do this thing like they do it on TV. It may or may not work. But anyway, we started out with like 20 something candidates, roughly. And then we ended up with these two. And like you were saying, Ty, it changed because we even had Professor Eddie Glaude on that talked about in his book taking this year off. Like that was one of the things is like blacking out the vote, just voting down ballot, leaving the presidential area blank. And myself was like, okay, that's a valid idea because the Democratic Party has been so comfortable with just black people gonna vote anyway. They're gonna vote Democrat anyway. So we need to do something to get their attention so they can really speak to our issues. And then when those other Republican candidates start falling off, and then it becomes real that Trump could actually be the nominee, then it's like, okay, hold up. I might have to pivot and do something different. So I think we were all in that place where we really weren't confident in either candidate, especially in their stance for the black community. But we had to do, we felt like we either vote or don't vote. And then the guilt trip, me coming from Selma, the elders and all of that is like, you got to do something. So I went ahead and voted this time, man. I represented, and I don't like the other side, so you know who I voted for.
Well, I mean, like, I think that's interesting that you even say that, like this year it's gotten to the point where it's like the lesser of two evils. But the truth of the matter is that's always been the case. It's always been a lesser of two evils. I think this is when the chickens come home to roost? Like this was the year where it was obvious that that's the way that people had been voting for the last however many elections. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about Obama and what he's supposed to be on record as the most successful president in history. So that's not to take away from Obama. In 2008, we had the bookstore at the time, and so that was a really big deal, and everybody was excited and participating. So it's not to take away from that experience of people supporting and stomping, but there has never been a such thing as a completely perfect and clear politician. It's a politician.
Yeah,
it's not possible for that to be the case. And I think it's just now dawning on people on how rigged the system actually is, because politicians, this is a career for them. So the level of empathy and connection that you would expect a politician or a public to have is non-existent.
You bring up a good point.
I think it was Go ahead.
Uh, no, I was saying, Simone, you bring up a good point in that this is a their career. This is what the politicians and even if you're tuned in to CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News, and something that I'm kind of proud that we're doing. We don't have a dog in the fight. We're not getting paid from any of these networks, and so we can kind of provide our own perspective and our own opinion, and not be held to the same standard that the journalists that are on these CNNs and that are on Fox and that are on MSNBC, because I kind of question their motives, right? So I can question their
Hmm.
motives, and then I can also question even the politicians. So I kind of struggled even going to the ballot this morning on whether or not I would vote for a political party, or if I'll stand my ground. If I stand my ground, and I'll do the blank out vote, which is kind of that protest vote against either of the major candidates. Um, and kind of down ballot vote and vote for the different Senate races in the House of Representatives that were on the ballot.
Yeah. I mean, but to think about it like this. It's so he had the whole Trump grab him in the pussy thing, right?
Hmm.
And who was in that video with him? Billy Bush. Billy Bush is
Hmm.
on what, Access Hollywood or
Access
something
Hollywood.
like that, and he's
Access
a Bush.
Hollywood. Hmm.
Access Hollywood. So he's an actual Bush, like George Bush's family.
Hmm.
And he has been like sitting in that position for so many years. It's easy to forget that because he's doing the entertainment and he on there hanging out with Jamie Foxx and people like that. But a mole right in your face.
Hmm.
So
The
for me,
question,
believe that media is not skewed. That you have to have like New South Network and like other, like Al Jazeera and Democracy Now, like these things that are sort of like off the beaten path that do, like you said, don't have a dog in the race because Don Lemon be champion black people sometimes,
Right.
but don't
yeah,
we all remember a time where we had to say tell him to shut the fuck up because he just keeps he goes too far or he says the most not even politically incorrect thing but just the most idiotic thing that you could imagine in a situation about people that he's a part of the same community, whether or not he realizes it. So,
yeah.
and then you got Roland Martin. We ain't got to get on Roland Martin, but
No, go
Nah,
ahead, because you dropped some no, but she dropped some gems on Roland Martin, and Simone, you dropped some gems on Roland Martin on one of the previous Retroscope podcasts, and I was snapping my fingers, and I was
you saying
in
hallelujah,
agreement. Yeah, I was saying
hallelujah.
hallelujah. What they say? Don't they do like this? They snap their finger. They snap their finger.
Yeah, snap your finger.
If I had some glass, I'll be tapping my glass. But you was right on, and because because I feel like where's the accountability? And what I mean by that is, see, I'm not affiliated to a party. I'm not getting paid by the Democrats. I'm not getting paid by the Republicans. I'm not a part of the group think. I think that that's a major issue. I think Twitter and social media has become this big orgasm for group think. And I mean, I even jotted some questions down that I kind of want to pose to you, BG, and to you, Simone, around this idea of um, having your voice heard. So does having my voice heard, so everybody, during when it's time to vote, does having my voice heard mean does it only count when I'm voting the same way as you're voting? You see what I'm
mhm,
saying? That's kind of this idea of group think.
Yeah,
And I'm an individualist. I believe in going with my intuition, my gut, and forming my own opinion, and to hell with Twitter and all that other shit. I'm sorry, BG.
yeah. We kind of gotten away from it. I think we're getting a
Yeah.
little further away from that because when you look at it, a lot of people are innately followers, and what we're seeing is, and one of the things that I was gonna post today is the worst thing that was ever invented was the comment section on social media, because it gives everybody an opportunity to chime in and just hear themselves talk or see themselves type. And it's like what you're saying is one, not pertinent to what's going on, and two, it's just causing dissonance in the conversation. It's not you saying something to progress the conversation. It's basically just you trying to put your stamp on it and shut everybody down. And now we got to get into an argument about why the hell you coming on here saying these type of things versus sticking to the issue.
Yeah.
I see Simone leaning in. I know what that lean in means.
What does that lean in mean? Now, don't be
You
putting
got
me on the
something.
spot like
I
that.
mean, you got something to get off your chest.
No, I mean, no, it's just to me, like today I posted something, it was just a personal opinion. And it's what you're saying, like the comment section was the worst thing invented because someone made a comment, which I will not make the comment. I will not repeat it because I already shut that shit down.
Okay.
So we ain't gonna reopen that. But you know, but it is one of those cases of let me just say something so I can sound relevant or say something so I can sound smart. And then you run up on somebody's page like mine or BG's and type, I don't know, are you on Facebook?
Nah, I don't do the that's the book of devil. That's what they call that.
That's
The book
social
of the
media.
devil. Yeah, that's the devil. I
The
don't do
devil
the
be
face.
too busy on
I
Facebook.
don't do the book of face. That's the devil.
You are the smartest of the three of us then, type, because once a week one of us is running in, getting to run in with somebody. And I will defend my little real estate on Facebook. So you get on my post talking crazy, I'm gonna shut you down. So, you know, but that's what it breeds. It breeds that where it goes away from debate and discussion to straight up get off my page, or, you know, oh, I just wanted to say something so I could sound smart. So, you know, it can be a pretty like toxic environment when it's not checked, but the comment section is really a microcosm of our country. It's a microcosm of society and the way it's set up and how we deal with conflict, specifically like political conflict or political dissonance or whatever. So
Are we now more racial than we were, let's just say 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Do y'all feel like the racial climate is at a higher peak than it was back then?
No, it's not. It's not. And I think I think from a racial tension perspective, and they even did a survey on CNN, that really kind of peaked when President Obama was in office. I think that the country has gotten more comfortable with exposing its impurities. I think that um, I think that I think there's a kind of lax. Everybody's kind of a little bit more lax and comfortable with expressing themselves. But I think that from a racial perspective, I think we've been at that peak for a while now, and a lot of that isn't 100% because of, in my opinion, because of Donald Trump. I think a lot of that was the election of President Barack Obama. I think that when President Obama was elected, I think that a lot of people couldn't accept the fact that a black man was leading the free world. I think now what Trump has been able to do is tap into that core group of folks that felt that way 4 and 8 years ago. And I think we're just kind of seeing that more and more just in our country.
Mm-hmm. And media
yeah, I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
and media manufacturing too. Go ahead, Simone.
no, I completely agree with Tight. It's just it was already there. I think when Obama became the president, when Obama was running for office, and maybe even when he gave that DNC speech where he became known, all the closet racists just lost their minds and they started slipping and getting recorded saying this crazy stuff. But I mean, it's like you said, Donald Trump, he just tapped into it. He totally just he maximized ignorance and like where people were slipping up and saying what they think. He just maximized it and capitalized on it.
Let me ask y'all a question though. Do y'all think Donald Trump a racist?
I think he's an idiot.
Yeah, I think he does have that supremacist attitude, which is where it comes down to. But I think ultimately in that though, he's like an opportunist and a businessman. And I was having this conversation. Like I think that Trump just jumped in for kicks, right? He said there's a possibility he jumped in for kicks. And what could he lose? On the back end, he'd probably be more famous. His brands would get, more acknowledgement and more light by him entering into the presidential candidacy. And then people started to like, yeah, we with that shit. And so now he got to keep going because as he goes on, more and more people are with him. So personally, I feel like he didn't to this point where he is now, the people pushed him to that point. If he had started out and it really wasn't moving the people, he probably would have dropped out. But he got so good to the folks, it's like shit, I might as well just keep pushing. But
I don't think he's a racist. I think that, and that's probably an uncomfortable statement to make live on YouTube, because it's probably in the minority, and I may become a meme after saying that.
you
But
might,
I don't think
you just might.
I may, I don't think he's a racist. I do think that he has ran this Kiss campaign 100% based on from a business perspective, and I think that he's uh, not only has he ran it from business. I mean, he's treated America as one of his companies, and his
Mm.
campaign as one of his companies. And I think that he found a core competency um, that he could tap into, and because he tapped into that base, he was able to kind of rejuvenate that group of folks and motivate them to go to the polls. I don't think he's a racist, but I think he is I do think that he illustrates white supremacy and white privilege, and I think that um, and I think he takes advantage of a incompetent group of people, a group of people that are just ignorant. I mean, for lack of better words. And I
Yeah.
think that those people, I mean, it's a cult like following, as many people have kind of the simile that they've kind of compared him to a cult leader.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and he's
I,
taking a picture. Hold on, Simone. And I'm just gonna add it. He's taking a picture that is already out of a book that's already been written. He's using a lot of the tactics that Nixon used, post the civil rights movement, voting rights movement, and then if you go back, some of the Reconstruction tactics too. So speaking to that white fear of black progress and things like that. Go ahead, Simone.
well, you know what? I think that he is a racist, but I do think that he's a racist in the way that Type just sort of described. But I say he's a racist because he's a generational racist. His father, he's been known as Old Man Trump. He was known for running being a slumlord in New York City. The early 1900s, 1930, whatever, like anywhere from like 1930,
Mm-hmm.
1950, and he specifically ran
Mm-hmm.
these slums with black and brown people.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally think that Donald Trump is a dangerous combination of traditional racism that we know about, that we've either experienced, seen, heard about historically, however you put it, very overt. But then he's also the covert racist through his business practices. So he hides his racism within his capitalist nature, and he taps into that capitalist, I guess, the thing that we desire, the American dream. So you look at Apprentice, like the first couple of seasons of Apprentice, it was a brother Kwame, like the blackest man ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kwame, what he won,
Mm-hmm.
to the point where he's up here stumping. Well, he's not stumping for him now, but he was stumping for him before he ran for office. And he
Mm-hmm.
got Omarosa. He's clearly a racist, but Omarosa is so. I think she's more driven by money and the notoriety.
Oh no, Omarosa. So I met Omarosa doing CBC. True story, BG. True story, Simone. I met Omarosa doing CBC, and I went over there to talk to her to kind of get a. I mean, I'm an equal opportunist. I went on the podcast. Any way I can get on free lunch podcast, I'm a ass. And she when I went over there to kind of talk to her and invite her, she did one
Mhm.
of them purse. She kind of snatched her purse off the table and pulled it to the side
You
as though
finna take it.
tight. Yeah, like I'm gonna take the purse now. Come on now.
You's a big dangerous black man.
It's
Obviously,
CBC.
in her eyes,
It's CBC.
in
Yeah.
her eyes. Well, let me ask you this right here then. I mean, I think we can have our views on Trump, but what about HRC? I mean, she's not the traditional candidate. I mean, for me, she's not the traditional candidate that I would want to vote for. The traditional candidate that I think speaks to the issues that Black America faces. Simone, I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on Hillary Clinton.
I'm just like everybody else was like, bitch, please. Like, just because you are a Clinton against you. So,
Yeah.
I think it was summed up in the beginning of this, that infamous meme where it was pretty much, how do you like your oppression? Do you like it in your face or systematic? And she is the systematic part of that equation. I think that she pandered. We were talking about this quite a bit early on with Retroscope. Maybe you guys discussed it a little bit in free lunch, where she was pandering and going to the projects, and she would have moments where her slip was showing because the young woman confronted her, and instead of answering her, she took the mother role, she took the adult role, she took the authoritative role immediately with someone who was asking her a question about policies that she not only supported, but she absolutely promoted. So to me, she's no different than Trump. She happens to be a woman, and she happens to be the first woman who really has a chance. So as far as I'm concerned, Hillary Clinton, she ain't shit either. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no reason to even pretend that she is. There's no reason to pretend. One, let's talk about the president. How much power does the president actually have?
That's a good point. That's an excellent point because that's actually a point that I jotted down in my notes. And kind of the approach that I took when I even made my votes was, I mean, at this point, I mean, if you really look at the last 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
President Obama was in a sense he struggled getting any of his policies passed because of Congress.
Right.
And at the end of the day, will we see a huge difference with either Hillary as president or Trump as president? I think that at the end of the day, it may come down to who controls the House and the Senate.
Naturally.
Well, it's
Naturally.
not a may, it is.
Naturally.
That's what people miss. Like, you have to do those local. You have to vote in those local elections because you are voting for people who will be in the House. You are voting for the people that will put together these bills that will be presented to the president, who may ultimately veto it or allow it to pass or whatever. But the buck stops at the president. It doesn't start with him or her.
Yeah.
And people get it messed up. Like, the president's a rubber stamp. The president is a glorified ambassador to the rest of the world, with some executive power in the mix, meaning the army. You see what I'm saying? I don't think people really truly understand it. So what they do is they place a lot of weight on these big elections like the presidential election, because the presidential election does what? It gets the most media coverage. It gets the most attention. It's the biggest, flashiest thing. It's the biggest shit show on the planet. You don't hear about these local elections. So it just goes to the superficiality in which we function as people in the US, even down to things like how your policy is set up, your rights on a day-to-day basis, whether or not, you know, like in North Carolina, pointing this out to a friend, like in North Carolina, they don't have to release the footage from body cams. Like, that doesn't seem like a big deal compared to a presidential election, but that's a much bigger deal. Presidential election. So the perspective is all off, and then there's a lack of understanding in how our government works, which maybe we need to come together and figure out some kind of infographic, which I'm sure is one out there, because we all took social studies and American history and all of that, but set up an infographic explaining how Congress works, or how the president works for all the other bodies of government, including the Supreme Court. And you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's an awakening. I think all of this is just an awakening to how convoluted this whole thing is. We've always just been told to go vote, and then you vote. Somebody, whoever you put in there, they'll get the job done, right? But it's so many levels to it, and it starts from the ground up. For me, this particular vote was just the people that I hear every day talking about Trump and seeing all the Trump stickers and signs and all that kind of stuff. I know I don't align with them, so I'm voting opposite of who they voting for. That's basically how petty my vote was when it come down to the president. It was a petty vote, right? But to go further than that though, is like with say Hillary Clinton, my congressman that represents my district is actually from my hometown. So I saw her like 2 weeks ago and had a conversation with her, and she knows my parents and families and all that stuff, right? So I might not be able to touch Hillary Clinton, but I can touch her, and she's supposed to have a decent relationship with Hillary Clinton, and I can touch all of these people that are local that actually have this kind of pipeline to the presidency, if that even matters. So there is this education that does need to take place about the depths of what voting means, because if we take it for granted, they're going to do some things to modify your ability to vote, right? So if you're not active, you can expect stuff like, okay, well, if you hadn't voted in the last so and so many elections, then you can't vote for this many amount of years. So you got to participate, and then you've got to use your best logic and try to make the best chess move that you can out of it, because this is the game that we've been placed in as Americans. So you either play the game or you remove yourself from the game, and then you get forgotten about. So this is really what has been pointing out more so to me than anything else is like to really inform yourself about the inner workings of what's going on. And I guess that kind of rolls into one of the things that has been on the forefront month or so is the decline in voting numbers, voting turnout. And then they kept targeting the black community. Are black people going to turn out? Early voting numbers, black people didn't turn out so well. But nobody really kind of took that next step to talk about, well, what are some of the factors that might have played a role in why, the numbers might be down or people are later getting to the polls. And we had that conversation with Duell Ross about the Voting Rights Act and how back in 2013, an important part was stripped from that Voting Rights Act. And it mainly affected black people in these rural areas. And so that's another thing as far as being involved in the whole process and not just waiting for the presidential elections, because that was a Supreme Court decision.
But BG, you bring up an interesting point, and even to Simone. So, Roland Martin, who he had a very interesting, he has a radio show that you can tune into, and on this particular day, I tuned into it, and the conversation was really around the narrative, and the narrative around the black vote, and I kind of agree with him on this point. Like I said, Roland say some things that we can agree with, but he also said some things that you absolutely can disagree with. But the thing that he was saying around the narrative was that in regards to the Clinton campaign, um, the it was cause and effect. The reason why the effect of the low turnout was because of the 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 attention and the dollars that was spent in black America by both campaigns. And I think that we can allow the narrative, and I kind of agree with Martin on that, with Roland Martin on that. You can allow the narrative to shift to saying that there's low black turnout. Well, then let's look on the front end. How much money was spent um, on black in black media and black radio by the Clinton campaign on the front end. We see on the back end they want to go to the Breakfast Club or they want to call on Jay Z and Beyonce, which I see as propaganda and pandering to the black vote. But and that's the problem that I have with the Clinton campaign, just in general, is that around election time, and that's just with the Democratic Party in general. Around election time, that's when they are in our neighborhoods, and that's when they're speaking to us. But what happens on a few months from now? What happens a year from now after they've been elected? Do they continue? I mean, and how many debates? There was not one debate. I watched every single debate. There was not one debate on the social injustices that took place over the past few years.
Mm-mm.
But they're down in North Carolina pandering the vote. God bless President Obama, but um, nobody's addressing issues in our community. And that's the issue that I have. And that's the reason why I struggled this morning with whether I would vote for Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, or if I would do a blank out vote, which is a protest vote, because nobody speaks to Black America until they need Black America, and I don't think that's fair to us.
Well, okay, so then this is one of the things that I saw a lot of because I follow a lot of people that are very much concerned and empowering the community is along the lines of the protest vote, but also from this point moving forward is we need another party. Are we at the point now of where we establish another party that has the issues of the black community and the culture at the forefront? Are we at that point? Are we prepared to to take that step and create that? And I have to pause sometimes and wait at where yes, there is definitely a need to where we, for lack of a better word, guarantee that the candidates are in tune to what the needs are of the community that I come from. But then on the flip side, I look at when we try to actually come together and do stuff, we end up all over the place and nothing ever gets off of the ground. So what do y'all think about that? Are we at the point? Is that a reality
No,
right now in 2016, 2017 for a
no,
new
and I'll
party?
be no, and I'll be short because of social media and because of groupthink. Um, BG, me, you, Simone, we're not on CNN. We on YouTube Live. We're not on MSNBC. You won't see neither one of us on um, Meet the Press Daily, Meet the Press with Chuck Todd. You won't see us on with Megan Kelly on Fox News. And I say all that to say that we don't have the voice of the masses. You have a lot of influential professional media folks in regards to politics and a lot of professional politicians that have the influence and use social media as a platform for groupthink. So as long as we have, I mean, what was one of the most popular memes? I guess I'll vote for her. That's one of the most popular memes because nobody has the courage to down ballot vote. Nobody has the courage to say enough is enough and to not vote for either major party, but to vote their interest being not affiliated with each party, in my opinion. And so, Simone, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts, but my whole perspective is that until you have the courage and until you can have individual thought and not group think, then you'll never see a third party upbringing. Not within the black community, you won't.
I agree with that to a certain degree. I think there's another part to it to consider. I think, like we a while back we talked about this meeting or this panel that Killer Mike was on in Atlanta, and he talked about how people are not prepared for revolution, and that's part of revolution. When you break a two-party system and say I'm going to go with another, forget the two main parties, that's an act of revolution, and people are not going to move forward with that, not just because of a lack of courage, which I think that's a lot of it. It's just fear. People are afraid to step out of what they know, but people are quite honestly not prepared. It's People are sleeping, people are comfortable, or they're not sleeping and they don't know how to make it outside of the system that's in place. Like, Killer Mike was like, do you know how to plant your own food? Do you know how to shoot a gun? Do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do that? Right? Are you going to be the one to not pay your parking ticket or your speeding ticket? Are you going to do like let's say like Hebrew Israelites where they claim personal sovereignty and they're called crazy for it, or they end up fighting the justice system for most of their lives because they decided to say that they're a sovereign citizen. So I think it's a combination of, like you said, the group think and everything that you were saying, as well as we are just not prepared.
Mm-hmm.
We know what we want it to look like in the end, but people have not taken the time to get there. Then we also, I think as Black people, we struggle with needing one leader. We need a coalition. We need a body. We need a group to go to tell us what to do. We need somebody to tell us what our 10-point program is in order for us to move forward as a people, when really and truly it is an individual thing. Like, you can move forward when you say, move off the grid, or I'll learn how to use a system that I'm a part of. Like, for instance, vets. I know a couple of vets who have figured out how to legally use their status as vets to kind of have access to certain things to pass along to the community, sort of set up the stage for what would be considered revolution, what could break a two-party system, like things like that. So, it's we ain't ready. It's really, we're just not ready. Logistically, we're not ready. Resource wise, we're not ready. And of course, mentally, we're not ready.
Yeah.
So, that's just my opinion.
Comedian Roy Wood Jr. had a post talking about people that are talking about, they are saying that they leaving the country, they're gonna leave the country, and he said you ain't got enough money to go to the next town. So how you gonna move somewhere else? And it was a joke, but it's real. It's like you revolution kind of start within. It start with your mind and how you live up to what you're talking about. You can't just jump out one day and say boom revolution. It don't work like that. You kind of got to be in process all the time. It's a close race, guys. CNN on the road to 270, 68, 66. Trump
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
tight. Simone, Trump has wrapped up Alabama.
Well, we knew that was
And
gonna
y'all,
happen. That's not a surprise.
y'all
That's not.
surprised by this?
Yeah. He
No.
got,
I can't give any kind of colorful commentary on something like that other than okay.
yeah.
We knew
He
that was
lightened it
gonna.
up.
I think we got to pay attention, like they said. I think you got to pay attention to Florida. It looks like Trump had a slight lead. Trump has a slight lead with 91% of the electorate. He actually has a 2% lead in Florida right now. I think you have to look at Florida. I think you have to look at North Carolina to determine who's going to win. But like I was saying, which may not be a popular um, thought, but if Trump wins, uh, from the perspective that America may hit rock bottom, that may be what America needs to regroup and reconsider some of our policies. From a long term perspective. I mean, obviously Hillary is the more seasoned candidate, right? She's the seasoned politician. She's the from more of a global perspective. She's the more well respected global global politician. But in a lot of instances, in my opinion, this race is more about the establishment versus the non-establishment, and it's more about um, new waves. And I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, what all the Christian folks say, you gotta look to Jesus. Or they voted for Jesus or something. They said in that on the
Yeah,
meme.
they leaving it up to the Lord. God is in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, God is
Okay.
in charge. That what they said, Simone. Why you laughing like that? That what they said?
Yeah, that's what they said. What you laughing at? That's what they said.
God is always in charge. They need to stop trying to put it on this dude Jesus. When when they can't figure something out, or when something ain't wrong, or when they didn't mess something up, because God's
Yeah,
always in charge. But
always in charge.
that don't change. That don't
I'm
change.
cons- I'm concerned though. I'm just concerned of the psyche of the country, not so much with the policies per se, because I think that'll be constant. Politics is cyclic anyway, so you go from whatever to the next whatever, and then you come back around to the whatever that you originally left. So that'll be constant. I'm just concerned about the people that are Trumpites with their intensified courage. Because y'all do know that Trump is on the verge of getting these people hurt around here. There was a man that was supposedly at one of the polling sites in Selma in the projects trying to place a Trump Pence sign in the projects, and they ran, and he was an older gentleman with a cane, and they ran him out of there. So I'm concerned about this courage. It's almost like that guy. He don't do a whole lot, but if he start drinking, he turns into a different person, and he gets all his courage, and then you have to wash him. Like, I just feel like there's a possibility that we might have to be always on guard, which we kind of are anyway, of having to watch somebody because they were Trump. Trump, that's the new go word to from a white person to a black person. It's Trump, Trump, baby, Trump, and it's like, okay, what you want me to do with that? So that would be my concern, is just how do the people respond to their guy being president?
Well, I mean, it's always what do I always say? Be grateful that we're getting to see the Vipers, because, like you said, this fool gonna get all these people hurt.
He gonna get somebody killed,
because
man.
they getting crazy, they get courageous, they asking for trouble, they asking for it. Like I saw something where it might have been the KKK, but it might be another white supremacy group, but I'm feeling like it's the KKK, where they pretty much said if Trump doesn't win, there's going to be a race war. And everybody, and someone else posted it, so I just commented.
Well, why don't I never see
Everybody's
none of this stuff? Why
Because
don't
you
I?
ain't on Facebook, man.
Because you ain't on Facebook. That's why you don't get to
I
see.
want to see that. I ain't never had no exit poll. Everybody getting exit poll. I ain't never had the poll to call me. I ain't never seen no Trump. I ain't never been intimidated at my polling site. I want some of that. Give me some of that.
No, you don't want none of that, because
Yes, I do. I
well,
do.
no, but like
I do. I want to be intimidated.
like I was the poll, everybody's response to that statement though was, please go ahead and get this race war going, because we've been talking about this shit for years, right? We've been hearing about the possibility of this for years. And what I think a lot of these foolish people who run behind Trump don't understand is that there's been a generation or multiple generations of people of color who don't give a fuck anymore and don't feel like they have anything to lose. So it's going to be some fighting back. And then there are people who do feel like they have a lot to lose, and they're willing to defend whatever they feel they need to defend. So in a sense, it's like, let's be grateful. We getting to see who the crazy racist, xenophobe, misogynists are. They're showing themselves because they getting that courage juice off of this Trump dude who is going to be at his home, quarantined and protected by his money and by his own situation. But that's the essence of his vote, his base. His fan base is that fool. His base is that person that is told You might not be economically stable. You might not have a good life. You might be struggling all of the time, but at least you ain't black. At least you ain't a minority. And they run with that. They run with it. They run with it. They run with it.
Man, I'm telling you,
So,
I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm waiting for somebody to
hey,
just I'm walking light, just waiting on somebody to say something wrong. So I'm every step, I'm like, okay, now if this happened, what am I gonna do? Constantly. Constantly. And I don't know if I was that if I was that hyper alert prior to all of this. I can't recall being that on
Well,
prior to this whole
let me ask
turmoil.
y'all this: have y'all ever been polled? Have you ever been polled?
I ain't been polled. Ain't nobody called me. Ain't nobody asked who I
What
would
about an
vote
exit
for.
poll? Have you ever had an exit poll?
No, they don't do that around here. Never,
I done
never.
I done led in three. Simone, you got exit poll today?
no, I did.
Well, why do the media get all these exit poll? What do I need to go to be exit poll? That's just like I never been on the jury. I want to be on the jury. Hello, put me on the jury. I'm volunteering.
Put that
I
man on the
never been
jury.
I never been exit polled. Like where are these people at?
Well, I mean, it's just like the ratings box. Everybody talks about, was it the Nielsen ratings? And there's certain people had boxes in their house where, they count them watching certain things on TV. And I'm like, how that happen? Like, how do you even get called up for something like that? So I don't know. Maybe we're just a fortunate few who don't have to do all of that.
Have to
'Cause I
worry about that.
never duty.
But
Yeah, I've never.
the reason I asked because BG, you had a good point on the agenda for the day, in that you spoke about the role in the media and these exit polls and that kind of stuff. And I guess what I'm getting to is when they start calling these states, they calling these states. A lot of these states get called based on exit poll and absentee and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I've
How
never
do
been
they know?
exit poll. Yeah, how do they know? I've never been exit poll. I've lived in Texas. I lived in Virginia. I lived in Alabama. I voted at every single one of my precincts. I've never been exit poll. I've never had the Nelson folks call me and poll me.
Yeah,
I've never had any of that.
yeah. I think it's just they might ask a couple of people and then just extrapolate that based off of whatever formula that they use. But this has been very similar to the way that they amp up boxing matches and football games. Heavy media influence, setting the table, building up the drama, allowing a lot of this stuff to play and work its way out, almost to the point in my conspiracy theory that I believe that Trump, with his connections with NBC and television networks, was able to capture a lot of that TV time and a lot of that type of press and all those things. Um, this is just a construct, and then to make a statement about black voters and our ability or our desire to go to the polls, and you say one thing, and then we look at our immediate circle, and it's like everybody going to the damn poll. It's like, well, who did y'all talk to for real? Like, where were these people at? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a dangerous thing. It's a dangerous thing because we know what drives
Well,
media.
let me ask you this. So we sitting here watching the poll results, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What, Simone, you may know that. What effect does we sitting here watching it? Florida, right now they are showing 91% of the polls are in. Trump is winning 49 to 47%. They're showing North Carolina 64% in, Clinton win. Now, what effect does this have on those folks on the West Coast? Does this turn them away? Does this so if I'm a Nevada, they say Nevada is another important state, right? If I'm in Nevada and I look at this and I say, well, it looks like this candidate or that candidate already won, I'm not even gonna go out to vote. what is the media also influencing from that angle? Are they influencing the vote?
Well,
Yeah.
hell yeah. I mean, if like who said CNN was the go-to or the end all be all with calling the election,
We seen that before.
right? I mean, like, no, that's just it's just an accepted practice. But who ultimately said was did the DNC, did the RNC, did anybody? Is there some governing body that says, all right, CNN, you get to call the election, you get to say who's the president, you get to say who's this, who's that? No, I think that they just do it on their own, and of course there's some effect. People are already apathetic about voting. People are already over this election. People are rolling their eyes as they're going to the polls. People are having to be guilted into going in the first place. So you are damn right that somebody on a 3-hour delay who already don't want to go is probably like, well, they don't need my vote. He's already gotten it. Right? I mean, that's human nature.
Human nature.
And what'd you say, BG?
I was just saying, yeah, that's human nature. Be like, fuck it.
It's just human. So yeah, I mean, all the media does and all these bodies, like I said, these parties do is they mess with psychology. They mess with people's minds. They know what the masses are going to do. It's no different than, you have a whole industry based on the psychology of how people behave, and that's marketing, public relations, advertising. This is no different. It's the same principles that are being from your advertising or your entertainment industry is being applied to the political system.
Speaking
What
of
about
it,
what about when they start showing these maps? Because I've been watching this for 2 years, right? I'm sorry,
Mm,
BG.
go ahead.
I've been watching this for 2 years, right? And they basically told us for the past week and a half that it's really only 9 or 10 states that's gonna make the difference in tonight's election. It really only 9 or 10 states that we're looking at, right? We're looking at
mhm.
Florida, we're looking at North Carolina, Virginia, New
Ohio.
Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Michigan, Colorado. That's 8 right there. If I'm in one of them other states, then what the hell I'm voting for? My
You
vote
just
don't matter, right?
you just voting on principle. You voting on principle,
I'm
which is
voting
what
because
really.
groupthink. I'm grown because groupthink got on there and put their stick out there and said I voted. Is
But
that why I'm
pretty
voting?
much, but yeah, I mean, and but really, that's kind of what it is. We went and whenever John Kerry ran for president, we voted. I voted. He had the numbers, but then ended up losing the electoral college. So really, in principle, we that's what we doing anyway. We just voting on the strength of the opportunity to vote, sentimental value as far as family and relatives that didn't have the opportunity, had to fight for the right to vote. That's really what it is. Because I mean, we could go here and sit here and have done everything that we want to do, and they could still call the other guy in spite of everything that we've done, laying it out on the line. So I think we all just voting kind of on groupthink, trying to vote and make our voice heard for the best of the people that live around us. But once you cast that vote, they can do whatever they want to do with it. They can throw it in the garbage can, and we'll never
Pretty
know the difference. And that happens. Voting fraud is real. So, it's just one of them things that
I
we
mean,
do.
from what we was told, the road to 270 for Trump was damn near impossible. Now, as I watch tonight, this finna be
Don't
the
look
biggest.
so.
This finna be a 3-1 come from behind. Uh, Cubs beat the Indians.
Yeah.
Cavaliers
Don't
beat the
don't
Warriors.
feds
Simone,
right now.
Simone, what you think?
I mean, I don't even really know how to answer that because I think it's all a bunch of shit.
that's what you that's what you gonna get from that.
It's
But
like I don't have anything profound to add. It's all a whole bunch of bullshit. Like it's a rigged system. We
yeah.
keep talking about like the electoral college and him getting these votes and what is a bunch of bullshit. It's a rigged system. They already decided whoever they is. They've already decided who they want the president to be, and they just got us jumping through hoops. jumping through hoops, pretending that we are participating in some kind of situation or some kind of process that decides the damn thing. It don't decide nothing.
Hillary Clinton just projected the winner in New York. Question for this is an HBCU question. Since we got an HBCU grad on there, let's just consider Hillary Clinton does pull this one out today. One of the things that she had on her agenda or her platform was $25 billion or something like that going towards HBCUs, primarily those that are private HBCUs. Do you believe her? Is that something that we can believe in? Is that something that we can see
No.
coming into fruition, or is that just something that is a part of the cricket gaming system?
Hell
Well,
no.
you can believe if you want to. You can believe that it could happen. And I say this as someone who attended a private HBCU, which you feel the difference. The tuition is higher at a private HBCU, Tuskegee, to you, come on. But yes and no. I mean, she could absolutely have a plan to do it, but it's always a matter of will she actually do it? And we have to wait and see if she's going to actually do it. I haven't had the chance, or I hadn't had a chance to go through the details of what this plan is, but is there a detailed plan? Does it talk about where the money's going? Is it going to like the school's general funds? Is it going to financial aid for these particular students? Is it going towards the endowments and like the programs and that kind of thing? Like, what are the stipulations on these funds? Because the funds could be earmarked, but there could be certain requirements that the HBCUs have to meet that they will not be able to meet. So, until I look at a plan and I can see the details of where this money would go and how it would be distributed and what the requirements would be,
Well, the Honorable Louis
yes or no.
Farrakhan, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, that's where that money for Haiti went. So, so if they still trying to find out where the money for Haiti went, then do you think we're gonna be asking the same question for the ABCU?
It's possible, but when you talk about Haiti, you talking about the Red Cross, and that's like a third party. That's another filter funnel that they sending that money to, where it gets lost. It gets lost in the channels. Um, Again, it comes back to what is that? What is that program? What does that program look like that she's proposing? Or like I said, is she talking about just some general fund where some money's going to be put in, the schools apply for it and they get it in the form of grants, or they get it in the form of scholarships, or programming like they can do stuff like for campus beautification, like infrastructure for the campus. Like, it just depends on what that system looks like. So, when she makes a statement, or anybody makes a statement like, oh, we're going to give 25 million to HBCUs, I don't care until you can tell me how you intend to distribute that money. People get caught up on that, and then they look up and they can't get the money. They can't access the money. It's earmarked, and guess what? That money ain't just sitting there. If it's not used by a certain amount of time, they move that into other areas. They move it to where they want it to be.
Oh, I agree 100%. I
I'm
agree 100.
always gonna err. I'm gonna err on the side of no. I won't believe it until you can give me some detail and you give me some dates. Right? You give me some. Okay, I go into office on this day. The first day I'm in office, I plan to have this done in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, 50% of my time in office. This is what I'll have to show for it. That's what it comes down to. That. So that's just that's how I am in life. It's like you got to show me. BG, why are you looking like that?
I'm looking at the
You looking
results,
at the
man.
results?
Tight,
I'm looking at the results. I'm
tight,
telling y'all.
tight, tight. This
I'm,
went from landslide to like
I'm telling you. Hey,
the way
BG.
they got
Hey,
these
hey,
numbers
no.
projected down this
If
that down to
you
the
go,
wire.
absolutely. If you go, so, if you go back to our initial free lunch podcast when we started covering this 2 years ago, I called Trump would win the election, and the reason why I called Trump would win the election was for two reasons. Trump, America's fed up with with politics. Simone, you from Alabama.
Yeah.
You live here. You tired of this shit. You live in DC.
Mm-hmm.
You tired. I mean, regardless of candidate, it's a different era in this area, right? Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong.
No, it's a different BG. You have to live here to understand. When I say live here, I'm saying in the DMV for those that are watching live. Living in the DMV, there's a different aura. There's a different type of person. America, America is tired of that aura, that type of person. Trump represents the non-establishment. He represents the regular guy. People
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people feel like they probably can go have a beer with Trump. They probably can go have a, and then the second piece of that is that's the first piece. The second piece of that, what I was saying was with Hillary Clinton, people don't trust her. She's part of the establishment. Um, they don't trust her, and because of that, and because they feel like people are tired of the politics, Trump is telling those people what they want to hear. You got a lot of closet Trump fans. You got a lot of closet Trump supporters. A lot of them. You work with them.
Mm-hmm.
They in the closet. R. Kelly, come out the closet, and that's what we're seeing tonight. That's what we're seeing. I'm telling you, I've been calling this, and I've been trying to tell people. A lot of people felt like they were getting these exit polls, and people were probably answering that phone, and they didn't feel comfortable revealing their true selves to whomever was on the other line of that call. Like I said, I've never been polled. I don't know who these poll people who they going out to, but whoever they talking to, they not telling them the truth, and that's what we're seeing tonight. When you got Trump it's 92% polling, and Trump is at 49% to 47%. Florida is a huge state. When you look at Ohio is a huge state, and with Trump leading in Ohio, I feel like what we're seeing is two things. We're seeing a lot of closet Trump supporters, and we're seeing a lot of folks that are fed up with the establishment.
Yeah, which which is a interesting perspective to roll with. Is you're tired of the establishment, but what is the next step? What is the progression from what the establishment is, which is the biggest question mark? Is like, where are we trying to get to?
Hmm.
Where do we ultimately want to end up? What is of our high on our priority list as things we want to accomplish as a country? So we don't seem to be hitting on those cylinders. We just want to break away. We just want change. We want a revolution, but revolution to what? We're
No,
not
the,
doing.
the 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 thing that happened to America, the America has become a social media country. We're connect. No, seriously, we're a connected group of people, right? Hear me out. We're a connected group of people, and because we're a connected group of people, it's easy to get information. We're an information group of people too, right? So I can find out what's happening in California. I can find out what's happening in Seattle, New York, any any place in America. And because I can have access to that
Mm-hmm.
information, and I couldn't have that, they couldn't have access to that information years ago. And so a politician could tell me anything, or they could speak to a group of people in which and tell and make promises to that group of people. So now that we have access and we can see the lies as a group of people, America is fed up with it. So now here comes it's almost like LeBron James. LeBron James is the first athlete to play a professional sport in the modern era, social media area. And he's had to deal with that. Donald Trump is essentially the first non-politician that is able to maneuver in this climate where most politicians are still traditional, and because they're traditional, they haven't caught up to social media and what social media brings to the table. And what that is groupthink and the ability for information. So as a consumer of social media, I can I can go and watch a speech in in Seattle and I can hear the two candidates talk and I can be like, she bullshitting. Or I can say, damn, Donald Trump is saying the same message. Simone, what you want to say? I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean the thing about social media is I think that's an easy cop out. Like I understand that you don't like social media. Like some people don't like social media, but think about Retroscope, for instance. The basis of our show is how to use social media responsibly. And what it comes down to is that people are not socialized very well. And when they weren't socialized very well to begin with, social media presented itself as a way for us to start falsely interacting with others. I think it goes back to people are not socialized in the way that they used to be socialized, as in we are of the generation where we remember not having cell phones. We remember before the internet, so it can be frustrating for us when it comes to that. But we're also the generation of young people because we're all in our early 30s, early to mid 30s, I guess, where the workforce that we live in is driven by social media, cell phones, mobile contact,
But see,
messaging,
I'm not
things of that.
disagreeing with you on that, though, Simone. I'm not saying that social media is a cop out. What I'm saying is that social media has awakened America, is my point. And what I'm saying is that because of social media and because of these different platforms, America has the access to see through the bullshit. Is what I'm saying. And so what I'm saying
Well,
is that these politicians are now being exposed for who they are, and
mm,
the authenticity is missing. Whereas a person like Trump, who gives off that who gives off a false sense of authenticity, he connects more on a larger scale. Is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
okay.
that Hillary Clinton, because she's so exposed, people can see through the bullshit. You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
People that's why Bernie was such a hot candidate. Bernie Sanders was such a hot candidate because people connected with him across the globe because he was authentic. And in the past we
Hmm.
wouldn't have that. All we would have was what we saw on TV. But now we
Right.
have options. Now we have information. Now we can go out and make decisions on our own, and we don't have to rely on what's given to us, what fed to us. And that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that social media. I'm not saying whether I'm anti-social media or not. I'm just saying that the power of social media allows for information gathering, and it allows for us to make informed decisions, and it allows for us to connect with from a more what we perceive as being authentic.
I think the biggest part with that though is that we're not a smart nation. Like the majority of people are not smart. And when I say smart, I'm talking about outside of being book smart. Like our biggest thing, your biggest mark of how well you do or how successful you are is basically how much money you make and what status and class you're in. But that leaves a whole lot of room for social and emotional intelligence, and we're not socially and emotionally intelligent. So when it comes to making decisions and being having foresight and being progressive, we don't have that. The majority of people that exist kind of in this country that we live in are fighting, trying to get something to stay the same, or if not doing that, and they do
Yeah.
that because there is something to gain in something staying the same. This whole Trump thing is a fight to reclaim, go back, or stay the same. Because and you see that because there's no talk about reforming education. There's no talk about rehabilitating the people that are in the criminal justice system. There is no talk about forming people and getting people on their feet to where they can push your institution forward. We live in a dumb nation, and there's profit in most of the people being dumb.
Yeah.
So whatever you say, if you something, Simone, you stuck. We stuck, right? We're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want me to say it?
Yeah, we stuck.
We in
We
trouble,
stuck.
man. I'm telling you, we in trouble. We looking at this
Well, I mean,
electoral map, we in trouble, huh?
let's so if Trump wins, Trump is who we deserve. That's
Absolutely.
what people really don't want to accept. You know, it's they saw the light a little bit too late. This is a country that gave birth to Trump,
Mhm.
and people like Trump, and those people who vote for Trump, those politicians in these smaller positions are Trump. He is exactly who we would deserve. Now, my concern is, let's say Hillary won, or let's say like Jill Stein won. You know, these are Jill Stein not likely, but you know these are other options. My fear is that we get someone like Clinton or someone anybody other than Trump, and this whole thing is gonna happen again in 4 years. We're
It's
gonna
gonna
have this
recycle.
same. Oh my God, I didn't see this coming. I can't believe he's about to win. Who is this clown? Who's voting for him? How can you vote for him? It's gonna be the same thing
It's
all
gonna
over
recycle.
again.
It's gonna recycle because
It's
what
gonna
could
recycle because there is no connection between, all right, we learned our lesson. And now I learned my lesson. Let me apply this lesson and move forward that way. Some fuck shit like Trump being the president of the United States, being the laughing stock of the world, which we already are, um, being not taken seriously, having something like Brexit happen in the US before there's a remote chance that anything about that system will change. Anything about the way things work now will change. And even then it's far-fetched. That's far-fetched if he gets into office. So I'm not saying anybody should have voted for Trump. I'm not saying that anybody should want him in office, but this is a cycle. This is a natural cycle of things. Like in order to begin again, things have to die, things have to change, things have to stop. So if you continue a system, even though it elected Barack Obama, and that's what's tripping people up,
Mm-hmm.
it,
Mm-hmm.
it is a system that allowed Barack Obama to become the president, so you think it's automatically fixed. But before that, who was that? George W. Bush. Before that, Bill Clinton. Who was that? Who was before that? The first George Bush, Ronald Reagan. Right? That,
yeah, it's got to crumble.
And,
This
and
got to come down.
and they showing North Carolina right now. Trump up in North Carolina.
Yeah,
I mean, this may be a reality, people. This may be
yeah.
a reality.
So what does it look like? We got to get out of
yeah.
here. We got to get out of here as the results keep running in. What does it look like tomorrow? When tomorrow is what, Wednesday morning. What's different?
It's like a
What's
hangover.
different?
It's gonna be a horrible
Mhm.
hangover tomorrow, and it's the morning after you blacked out and you can't remember what the fuck you did the night before.
Yeah.
Because you drank too much, you did some of it too much, and then you start to remember what you did and you're ashamed. So
Mm.
I think that's gonna be the feeling across America. But that's just
I think tomorrow. I think it's going to be a lot of reflection. Um, I think that it's going to be a lot of reflection, but it's going to be a lot. America's going to be split in half, and depending on who gets elected, Trump is not going to try to cross over to those that didn't vote for him, not to his base. I mean, to those that opposed him. Clinton's going to try to bring the country together, and I think that's going to be, depending on who wins, it could be pretty dangerous. I think the next 4 years are really going to speak volumes to the direction of this country. And I think, Simone, I think you're dead on with, if Trump wins, I think that you have to go to the bottom in order to to rebuild this thing, because the Democratic Party is going to really have to uh, look at if Trump wins. The Democratic Party is going to have to look at uh, their processes and their candidates and how they're running things. And likewise, if Trump wins, the Republican Party is going to have to look at their policies and what they stand for. So tomorrow's going to be interesting. Tomorrow's going to be very interesting. And I think people are exhausted even now. So we'll see.
Yeah, people are
Mhm.
mentally drained. It kind of at wits end. Patience is low. Tolerance is even lower because that's that social and emotional intelligence that I talk about. People that you work with don't have a lot of it, so they want to talk about shit, but they really don't want to talk about it. You know, so we're working through these things. I don't think that much though. I think that work will be the same. I think the route to work will be unchanged. That'll be all right. If Trump loses, people will be quiet. It'll be very solemn. You would have thought somebody had died. Uh, if he loses, if he wins, there might be a little bit more pep in the step. They might actually speak on this on tomorrow.
But let
If
me ask you this though: do you think that it's going to be a Clinton loss? So say Trump wins, is it a Clinton loss or a Trump win?
that does what?
Is the narrative going to be that the votes didn't turn out, or is the narrative going to be that there were a lot of closet Trump supporters? You see the difference?
I think it'll be a Trump. I think that if Trump wins, it'll be a legit Trump win. That will be the story because his side controls the narrative, media wise and all that. They've kind of been pro Trump.
But does that mean that? But does that mean that there were a lot of Trump closet supporters?
No,
Do
I
you
don't. I
think? Do
don't
you
think
think
it.
there's a lot of Trump?
I
A
don't.
lot of Trump closet supporters?
I don't know about closet, but I think that Trump. I think that there were a lot of people, say in Alabama and a Georgia, that have turned out for Trump this go around that haven't been voting.
But see, I'm not even talking about Alabama and Georgia.
No,
They
just
typically vote Republican. I'm talking about we're looking at Virginia, who's about to be a red state. I'm looking at Ohio, who's going to be red. I'm looking at North Carolina, who's going. Michigan is finna turn. I'm looking at all these. I'm looking at blue states like a Michigan that's turning red. I'm looking at a North Carolina that is sometimes. I mean, it was red last 4 years ago. It was red, and it looks like it's going to be red again. I'm looking at. I'm talking about those states.
are are you using the right term? You're saying a closet Trump supporter. Like what do
Meaning
you
No,
say?
folks that go ahead, Samara.
wait. No, so okay, so what you initially said is it's gonna be a Trump win or a Hillary win
A Hillary loss or a
because
Hillary
Trump
loss.
shouldn't have been able to win. That's really what it comes down to. He shouldn't have been
Mm.
able to win. I don't think it's a matter of the red and the blue. Like that's a second. I think that's secondary because that is going to come up. It's going to be like what states did what. Why are there people voting for Trump? Oh my God, this is where the biggest, the biggest group is. But from the media standpoint, it's going to be a Trump win because there we all know that you shouldn't be able to win if you say things like grab them in the pussy. You should not be able to win if you are about to go to court because of an alleged rape of a child. Like no one's talking about that. So it's going to be a Trump win. It's going to be considered something that should not have happened. Or it could be the opposite of that because of that. It could be a Hillary loss because they don't want to highlight all these things that are so wrong about Trump just as a human being, point blank. And he managed to get into the presidency. So my personal opinion is it's going to be a Trump win,
Yeah,
or it just depends on how they spin that back. But it's
yeah.
always
TV
I got it.
One,
I got it. Go ahead, BG.
TV One might spin it as a Hillary loss. People didn't turn out and all that, but CNN, Fox, MSNBC was like he was the phoenix that rose from the ashes, and he just came in and turned the whole thing around. He's revolutionized. He is flipped political culture upside down.
I mean, with
Yeah,
95% of the votes
I think that's
in,
probably the most.
with 95% of the votes in Florida, Trump has a comfortable lead. It looks like Trump is going to win Florida, and if Trump wins Florida and he's able to win Virginia and North Carolina, I'm telling you, it's going to be very very interesting. It's going to be very very interesting.
All right, y'all. Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
We appreciate everybody that tuned in. This video will be posted on the YouTube page. We'll also have it on Facebook for your viewing pleasure whenever you get a chance. Check for us sometimes. Check our podcast out. We are the New South Movement Podcast Network, available on iTunes and SoundCloud. Just search New South Movement. How about y'all tell the people how they can connect with you, Simone? Because Tight don't have no social media. we gotta get Tight some social media. We gotta talk him into it.
Well, yeah. So y'all can catch me at the Shy Peacock on Instagram, shypeacock.com, Shy Peacock on Facebook, or you can check us out on Retroscope IG. It's just Retroscope, right?
Retroscope
Podcast on IG. And let BG know you trying to catch up with me.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You keep trying to put me out there and give me responsibility of being your manager. Take ownership of your own movement. Contact her. Slide in that DM.
No.
Slide in that DM.
We're not gonna do this.
Slide in that DM.
All right.
You don't want to slide in that DM.
Y'all, he my manager, even though he want to act like he ain't my manager, but we ain't gonna hash this out in front of the world on YouTube and all of that. So there you go.
Tight, what you got, man? How you want the people to get in contact with you?
Man, through BG.
Pretty much.
So
yeah, y'all get in contact through BG, but check out D1 Sports Talk Podcast. Interesting fact though, BG.
Yeah.
They said that every year during the election, whoever wins the game between Alabama and LSU reveals which party is going to win, right? So if LSU wins the Alabama the game, if LSU wins that game, Republicans tend to win the
presidential
election. If Bama wins, the Democrats have won that election. So let's see if that holds true tonight.
Let's see. Who you got? Who you pick? Who your pick is for the president? Who wins tonight?
Who's gonna win tonight?
Yeah, who you got winning tonight?
I think America loses.
One way or the One way or the
Simone, you like that?
We'll go with that.
That's the best answer. That's it. I'm biting that.
We'll go with that.
Absolutely.
We'll go with that. Petty pick. I'm picking Hillary Clinton so I can juju on that beat in the morning.
I don't know if she's gonna win, dog. If you look at the results, it's not looking good.
Well, I wanted to win so I can juju.
Simone, who you got?
Simone don't care.
I don't care.
Don't give a damn. Don't give a damn.
No, I don't give a damn. I don't give a fuck.
Okay, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tight. I think your answer was the best answer. America loses. There you go.
America loses. Let's get out of here.
All right, we are out of here. Everybody, be blessed out there. Hope your candidate wins. Until the next time, we will be doing this again. We are out of here. Peace.
Peace.
Peace, y'all.